They always say it starts with motivation. But what if that's the wrong door entirely? Imagine this. It's 2 a.m. Your eyes are wide open. Your goals whispering louder than sleep. You know what needs to be done. You've known it for weeks. Yet the action just doesn't come. Not because you're lazy. Not because you lack desire. But because the world has tricked you into believing you need to feel ready before you begin. Here's the truth. Readiness is a myth. Momentum doesn't wait for permission. Let's rewind. There's a moment, one defining second, when everything begins to change. Not because something outside shifts, but because you do. Not with a roar, but with a quiet decision. I'm going to move. Now. That's the key. Not the perfect plan. Not the surge of inspiration. Just the act itself. Movement, no matter how small, pulls clarity into your path. One decision, one step, and suddenly what was foggy becomes visible. We've been taught to wait. For a sign. For energy. For the stars to align. But high performers, those who actually cross the finish line, they don't wait for anything. They build their future brick by brick, even when the storm rages inside. That's not motivation. That's mastery. Let's talk about Serena Williams. Before the trophies, before the world watched, there were cold mornings, endless drills, and zero applause. She didn't hit the court only when she felt like it. She showed up because showing up created the feeling. Her energy didn't start the process. The process ignited the energy. This is the law most people miss. Action births motivation, not the other way around. There's a rhythm to this. First action, then momentum, then results. But it starts with you breaking the loop of waiting. Let's call it what it is. Hesitation is just fear wearing a polite face. And yet, the moment you take that leap, even a tiny one, the fear weakens. It's like a muscle that atrophies when ignored. One phone call, one paragraph, one workout. That's all it takes to kickstart a completely different trajectory. You don't need confidence to begin. You need to begin to build confidence. That voice inside your head saying, "Not yet." It's just an echo of every time you've hesitated before. Silence it with action. Michael Faraday didn't wait until science accepted him. Oprah Winfrey didn't pause until critics believed in her. They took a step, then another. That's how legends move. Not in leaps, but in relentless forward motion. Your breakthrough isn't hidden in some grand plan. It's buried beneath the dust of yesterday's inaction. Brush it off. Today is the only time that exists. Because the truth is, your future is watching what you do next. Are you going to wait? Or are you going to move? Think about how many dreams never saw daylight because someone whispered, "I'll do it tomorrow." But here's the secret. Tomorrow doesn't exist. It's just a softer way of saying never. Procrastination doesn't knock on your door and announce itself. It wears disguises. It pretends to be preparation. It dresses up as perfectionism. It convinces you that waiting means thinking things through, when really it's just fear on mute. And fear? It's clever. It doesn't shout. It gently suggests, maybe later, just one more scroll, just a little more research. But listen, clarity isn't hiding in the next video or buried in a bulletproof plan. It lives on the other side of starting. Let's say it plainly. Success isn't about talent. It's about traction. You gain traction not by thinking, but by moving. Even a wobbly first step creates forward motion, and motion changes everything. It builds trust, not in the world, but in yourself. The biggest myth we've been sold is that discipline is painful, that it's about self-denial and cold routines. But true discipline? It's freedom. It's you saying, "I control the pace. I set the rules." Look at Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. Before he became a global icon, he was broke, sleeping on a mattress in a small apartment. He didn't wait for a good day. He turned every day into his chance. That wasn't because he was lucky, it was because he moved, even when his future was uncertain. There's no trick, no magic pill. It's consistency, showing up again and again, especially when it's hard. And it doesn't have to start huge. That's the trap. We think transformation means giant steps, but the tiniest move forward can shatter inertia. Here's a tool, the 5-minute rule. Commit to something for 5 minutes, reading, writing, stretching, building, no pressure. Just 5. Most times, you'll keep going. Why? Because beginning dissolves resistance. Discipline is not about pushing harder. It's about choosing smarter. Cut the noise. Put your phone down. Close the 19 tabs. Get clear. Start with one action. Track it. Repeat it. Stack it. That's how habits are born. That's how identity reshapes. Because the real reward isn't in checking off a goal. It's in becoming someone who does what they said they would do. That's power. That's peace. And when you live like that, when your actions match your intentions, something shifts. You walk taller. You speak with certainty. You no longer need motivation. You are the momentum. So ask yourself, if I started right now, even small, what would change? You already know the answer. There's a moment, just before we begin, where fear feels the loudest. It's not the task that's hard. It's the hesitation, that pause, that tiny space between thought and movement. That's where fear builds its throne. But here's what most people never realize. Fear shrinks in motion. The minute you act, even imperfectly, fear loses air, like a balloon deflating in your hands. What once felt massive becomes manageable, because fear only lives in imagination, and imagination dies in reality. Most of the time, what we're afraid of never happens. And if it does happen, you deal with it. You grow from it. You come out stronger, sharper, and surprisingly proud. Failure isn't the enemy. Waiting is, because the longer you delay, the louder the doubt becomes. That's how procrastination works, not with logic, but with whispers. What if I'm not ready? What if I mess up? But what if you win? What if this step, the one you keep avoiding, is the one that changes everything? History doesn't remember those who waited. It remembers those who leapt. Take the story of Simone Biles, the gymnast who faced pressure few can imagine. There were moments when fear could have stopped her, but she didn't let nerves decide her fate. She rewrote the narrative by stepping up, by choosing bravery over doubt. She didn't know how it would go, but she trusted movement more than mood. This is your reminder. You're stronger than you think. You've survived hard days, made impossible choices, and risen when you didn't feel like it. That strength, it's not gone. It's waiting to be used again. So next time fear stands at your door, don't negotiate. Walk through it. Don't overthink. Overact. Take one step, one call, one commitment. Then watch how fast things shift. Because every bold person you admire, they started while afraid. They just didn't let fear have the final word. And you've got that same fire. The key is to move before you feel like it. Stop rehearsing disaster. Start building your reality. Because what stands between you and everything you want is one decision. Go anyway. What separates those who dream from those who do? It's not motivation. It's not inspiration. It's not even confidence. It's consistency. And consistency is built on one thing: discipline. Now let's clear this up. Discipline doesn't mean suffering. It's not punishment. True discipline is self-respect in action. It's the daily vote you cast for the person you're becoming. Think of it this way. Every time you show up for yourself, especially when it's hard, you prove to your mind that you can be trusted. And that changes everything. Trust in yourself doesn't come from pep talks. It comes from evidence. From doing what you said you would do, even when no one's watching. Especially then. Look at someone like Angela Merkel. Not a flashy icon, but a master of quiet consistency. For over a decade, she led with poise, clarity, and structure. She wasn't driven by hype. She was driven by service, by responsibility, by showing up again and again. That's what wins. Quiet consistency. Because the truth is, anyone can feel motivated once in a while, but when the thrill fades, when the spotlight dims, that's when real progress begins. When it's just you, your goal, and your choice. And here's the magic. The more you choose discipline, the easier it gets. Like a muscle, it grows. What once felt overwhelming starts to feel normal. What was once resistance becomes rhythm. But it starts small. Wake up when you say you will. Honor your word. Even in private. Do the thing not because it's exciting, but because it matters. Soon, your identity shifts. You're no longer someone who tries to be disciplined. You are disciplined. And from there, everything changes. Because you no longer rely on mood. You rely on movement. You don't need ideal conditions. You create your own weather. That's the essence of mastery. Acting without waiting. And you don't need to be perfect. You need to be consistent. Small actions, done daily, will take you farther than big actions done occasionally. So if you're wondering how to become unstoppable, here's the truth. Don't aim for perfection. Aim for integrity. Do what matters. Do it often. Do it even when no one applauds. Because in the end, the reward isn't just the result. It's the person you become in the process. There's something nobody wants to talk about, but everyone feels it. Pain, disappointment, setbacks. Those silent moments where everything feels heavy and you wonder, why am I even trying? But here's what most never realize. Pain isn't punishment. It's potential. It's not the end. It's the ignition. In the hands of the right mindset, pain becomes fuel. It sharpens your focus. It wakes you up. It tells you, this matters. The most resilient people, the ones who built lives of meaning, weren't untouched by pain. They were forged by it, not broken, reforged. Think about Stephen Hawking. Life threw him a diagnosis that could have silenced him forever. But instead, he turned that pain into one of the most extraordinary journeys in science. Not despite the struggle, through it. That's what powerful people do. They don't run from discomfort. They walk into it and use it. Pain teaches. It clarifies. It humbles. It forces you to decide, will this define me? Or will I define it? You can't control what hits you, but you can always control your response. And sometimes, the most painful chapters are the ones that make the strongest characters. Growth doesn't happen in ease. It happens in resistance. Muscles grow under stress. So do people. The hardest moments, they're not the problem. They're the platform. The loss that shook you, the failure that stung, the silence that made you question everything, that's the raw material of reinvention. So next time life stings, don't numb it. Name it. Don't run from the lesson. Learn it. Ask yourself, what can this teach me? How can I turn this into something more? Because here's what pain fears most: action. You take even one bold step forward in the middle of struggle, and pain starts to lose its grip. It no longer owns you. It builds you, and you become unshakable. You stop being afraid of hard times, because you know who you are inside them. You know what you're made of. So when life presses, rise. When it hurts, harness. When everything feels like it's falling apart, remember, it may be falling into place. Pain is not your enemy. It's your edge. And if you let it, it will sharpen you into someone unstoppable. You've come this far, not just in this moment, but in life. Through doubts, delays, discomfort. And still you're here. Now let's talk clarity. Because if you don't know what you're aiming for, how will you know when you've arrived? Direction matters. You can walk forever, but if you're walking in circles, all the effort means nothing. That's why you need vision. Clear, real yours. Not someone else's success story. Not what trends say you should chase. but the thing that ignites you. So ask yourself, what do I want truly? And more importantly, what am I willing to do for it? Not someday, not when life calms down. Now, write it down, break it into actions, stack those actions into days. And those days, they build your legacy. And here's the secret. Success doesn't come from intensity. It comes from direction and consistency. But even the best goals won't save you if you're surrounded by anchors. Your environment is everything. You become like the people you're around. Their habits, their beliefs, their standards, they rub off. If you want to grow, elevate your circle. Find those who push you, who challenge you, who see the best in you even when you don't. Cut the noise. Release the excuses. Let go of the voices that keep you small. And then, take back your time. Because time is your most precious currency. You spend it every day. The only question is, are you investing it or wasting it? Scrolls don't build dreams. Distraction is expensive. Every yes to something meaningless is a no to what matters. Plan your time, like your life, depends on it. Because it does. Make every minute count. And finally, the moment of decision. Right now, you stand at a crossroads. One road is familiar, comfortable, easy, but it leads nowhere new. The other? It's uncertain, unpaved. It asks more of you, but it leads to everything you've ever wanted. So what's it going to be? Stay still, or step forward. Talk about your goals, or become them. You don't need permission. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to decide. This is the moment. Not next week. Not after you finish watching. Now. Because the only way to build the life you want is to begin living it. One choice, one shift, one action, and everything changes.